Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, please.
Okay. Dr. Talbot, you are welcome.
Good day.
And Gloria, nice to meet you again here. So today, without any waste of time, we still want to look at some of the rulings that we are hoping that, let's say, the prayers that Mr. Peter Obi has before the tribunal. We want to see what are those rulings, because some people keep saying that the respondents, that they have very strong lawyers, that it's not all about you bringing evidence before the court. You still have to prove it, and sometimes they use some technical styles, to knock out all these proofs. So please, can you just give us some hints on what we should be looking out for when the tribunal comes back sitting? Let's see the chances of Mr. Peter Obi, and we believe that the chances are there, as in he has this great opportunity, to reclaim his mandate. But like some people keep saying that no, Tinubu's lawyers are smart, although they didn't bring witnesses to court. That doesn't mean that they cannot, stand for him and defend him. And yes, please just take us through what you think should be the areas that Mr. Peter Obi should be looking at. That's the areas of his strength. Let's just go through those points.
Okay. Well, good day, every one of us online today. I hope, should I call it a lecture or this discussion is going to benefit you? Like I said, it's good that we are going through this thing gradually so that Nigerians will understand. I was talking with someone over the phone today. I said to the person that it was good that Peter Obi entered into this level of politics because it's made all of us become aware of our rights, made all of us become aware of our constitution, and made all of us become aware of even the Electoral Act. And I must say that the Electoral Act is very, very straightforward. Every the rules on how you accredit voters and how they count the vote and how you announce the result, everything is there. So the major prayer Peter B prayed in his petition is simple, that INEC did not comply substantially in this election. That is, the level of compliance with the Electoral Act was grossly inadequate. Now, which means that when we are talking about compliance here, we are trying to match what happened relative to what is written as it would happen. And the case is obvious, as we have always mentioned. There was a slide I asked you if it was possible for me to see that slide. I don't know if it is possible for you to publish it there so I can use it to explain what I'm trying to illustrate now. Now, the reason why I like that slide is because it captured almost relevant sections of the Electoral Act that will prove that INEC did not comply with the Electoral Act. It shows the sections of the Electoral Act that INEC violated, and that is going to be a very big issue. In fact, this afternoon I was asking myself, how are these lawyers going to wriggle out of this? So, and the impact of that prayer, if the court is to uphold it, number one, is that it could cause an outright cancellation of the whole election, presidential election, outright cancellation. And why I say that it will lead to outright cancellation is because whilst we wait for the slides to come up, I have a document here that I need to explain something. For instance, let's just use the most researched state so far. I say the most researched because I've done the research, I've done the analysis of Rivers State. Premium Times happened to have also done the analysis, and the BBC did the analysis of the same Rivers State. Okay, if we look at only 2 local governments in Rivers State, what was declared and what we had, on the result sheet at the local government level, which is what we call the EC8C, That's the local government level of the Oyibo local government, for instance. What we had there was the results where APC got 2,731 votes and Labour Party got 22,289 votes. If you go online and just type and say BBC search on Rivers State election, you are going to see a picture of this result that I am telling you there. That the result that Labour Party got from Oyibo local government of Rivers State was 22,289. But INEC returning officer for the local government declared only 10,784, even though it was written legibly on the result sheet. He decided to announce a figure offhand and made Labour Party lose in that local government only 11,505 votes. And for APC got in the same Oyibo local government 2,731. But they inflated it to 16,630. Thereby adding extra 13,899 to Labour Party. I'm sorry, to APC. That was just in one local government. Now, if you now come to if we say, okay, let us correct it now. You come to Obi local government. Okay, this particular slide is here. Let this slide remain here whilst I finish what I'm explaining. Thank you for bringing that slide up. I will come to this slide later, but let it be here now. All right. And it is very, very clear. I'm looking at it on the screen. Now, if you come to another local government, which is Obi local government, APC, according to what INEC declared for the local government, APC had 14,065 votes. And Labour Party got 3,829 votes only. Whereas, when we now did going to the IREV and checking the result, we found out that in that particular place where INEC declared this humongous result, they gave Labour Party, I'm sorry, I'm talking about Oyibo local government, Obi local government, yes, I'm correct. APC was given 14,000, whereas APC got 14,065 votes based on our research. But INEC declared for APC 80,239 votes. That's what INEC declared. Now, coming to Labour Party, it gave Labour Party 3,829 votes only. When we did the correction here, it happens that APC was given extra 66,174, and Labour Party lost 73,607 votes in Obi local government, because based on what we saw on IREV legibly, we saw that Labour Party actually got there as much as 77,436. Now, if we say, okay, let's just these two local governments only from Rivers, say, let us correct it by giving APC what is due to them and Labour Party what is due to them, you will realize that the result of APC in Oyibo local government of Rivers State and Obi local government of Rivers State will amount to only 16,796, whereas Labour Party will be 99,825 votes. If you do the maths, you will realize that there is 83,029 votes that is being tossed here, as it were. Now, this is just 2 local governments in a state. And this state has as much as, I think, 21 local government, as the case may be. Now you have to go to Lagos. You have to go to Benue State. You have to go to Nasarawa State. You saw the Nasarawa State women coming to riot naked for days. Now you have to go to Kaduna State, where Dati Ahmed is coming from. Now you have to go to Akwa Ibom State, where Peter Obi's wife came from. You have to go to Cross River State. You have to go to Bayelsa State. I mean, so the fact here is this: if the actual result were to be recalculated, one prayer that Peter Obi asked is that he will be declared the winner. And indeed, that will be the case. It will be obvious that he won the election when all these corrections are made. You have heard even the PDP situation room say with their mouth that Labour Party got as much as 900,000 votes in Lagos State, and they reduced it to 500 and something thousand. So the challenge here is that if that 400,000 votes were to be pulled back from APC and given back to Labour Party, not only will the vote of Labour Party go up, but APC won't even get up to 25% in Lagos State. So it means that the so-called spread will start shrinking, because even in Rivers State, by the time Rivers State is done corrected, APC won't get 25% in Rivers. I had done analysis in Benue State, in Edo State. APC will not get 25% in Edo State. They will lose it. They will lose Lagos 25%. They will lose Edo State 25%. And the so-called Rivers State, where the INEC gave them a win, so far with the correction of these 2 local governments alone, APC spread had just gone down to 29.9%. By the time the whole corrections are done, APC's spread in Rivers State will go below 25%. That's how it's going to be shrinking. Okay. But
so
what if...
Please, I have a question at this point. So when is this going to happen? Is it that after the ruling, they will be asked to go and recount? No. How are we going to recover these votes that are missing now?
The address that they will write, remember the steps. The APC's 10 days is already counting since day before yesterday. Am I right? So 3 days down now, they have 7 days to submit the address, after which the Labour Party will have access to it, study it, and then reply them. And then they will all have, I think, about 5 days or thereabouts to now come and write their final address, which will now be adopted by the court. Okay? It is when the court is done, like I said in our last program, that all the evidence brought in the court, all the arguments that Labour Party pitched, all the witnesses they brought in were more like raw materials that they will use to write this year thesis, if you call it anything like that. More like a raw material. Now, in that, remember that they wrote a petition where they made the prayers. In this address, they are now going to develop that address. It's like what is called in business executive summary. The whole petition is like executive summary of what they are saying. We won, we will prove it, this, that. Now, they came to court to make those arguments. They will now go to corroborate the testimonies of their witness, the evidence that they brought in court, the impact of the cross-examination they gave to INEC and to APC's witness, and then they relate everything to the Constitution and also the Electoral Act, and say to the judges, having gone through this, our report, you can now see, number one, that they violated this, and because they violated this, this is the remedy for it. They violated the other one, and because they violated it, this is the remedy for it. And that's where we are coming. Is that okay?
Yeah.
So it is now the duty of the judges. The judges could now maybe, after reading it, say, yes, we are going to do this or do that or do that. One of the things they could say, do is to recalculate the results, the lawful result, by knocking off results that are not lawful, and then coming to now know who is the lawful winner of the presidential election based on the lawful votes cast. Now the question is, how will they determine the lawful votes? I'll give you an instance. If you look at the table we have here, you see what I call the presidential election day protocol, just from the polling unit to the ward collation center. That is where this ends. And in that place, you're going to see that first and foremost, the step one is that there's going to be beavers accreditation by the presiding officer, issuance of ballot papers by the presiding officer to those who have been accredited, voting by the voters, result counting and recording into Form EC8A by the presiding officer, result declaration at the polling unit by the presiding officer, signing of recorded result by the party agent. I think that one came first before number 6. Then uploading of results EC8A to IREF by the presiding officer, and the returning of results and beavers to the collation center, which at this level is at the ward level, by the presiding officer in company of the police and maybe the party agents. Now, if you see the blue arrow, that arrow leads us now to the ward collation center. In that ward collation center, it says here, there is a big table below with a big arrow red. It says there is a possibility of tampering with the results as recorded in Form EC8 before arriving at the collation center, hence necessitating dispute resolution. Okay? Now, because anything, these are human beings and these are, the ambitious people. Anything could have happened from that polling unit to the ward collation center. But when they get to the ward collation center, something will happen. Now, if you look at the step one, I say the presiding officer's duties is highlighted in black. I refer to the Electoral Act where all these things are listed here were mentioned. Electoral Act section 47, subsection 1 to 3, section 60, subsection 1 to 5, and section 62, subsection 1. These are the laws that mandated that these 8 steps are listed here must be carried out. And then when it gets to the collation center, the collation of polling unit result by the collation officer. This means the process of adding the Form EC8 result from different polling units as returned by the presiding officer. Now, remember, the name has changed from presiding officer to collation officer. They are 2 different people. And if you go to the definition section of the Electoral Act, you notice that each person has a designation. Each name has a responsibility. A presiding officer does not do the work of a collation officer. It is not the duty of the collation officer to upload the results to the IRN. So the question again Nigerians need to ask is, having done their job on the election day and gone back home, like coppers, many of them are coppers, who happens to be the people who were uploading results even up till now? Because that is supposed to be the work of the presiding officer. So people who were not designated by law to do the job
are the ones doing it now.
That is one thing Nigerians have not asked question. And I know that those lawyers, they are very intelligent enough to point all those little things out. Because having read their petition, I noticed that they know the relevant sections of the law that INEC violated. Now he says, after that, he declares the result of the declaration of result by collation officer after resolving any dispute. Now, peradventure a dispute occur, you can see that zigzag kind of arrow that takes you back again. Now, there is the one highlighted in green says collation dispute resolution, Electoral Act section 64, subsection 6A, B, C, and D gives you, you must follow section 64, subsection 6A, B, C, and D to resolve any dispute. And we have mentioned the times with our number here that to resolve that dispute, you need that physical result in contention, the beavers where the accreditation was done, the result uploaded, and the accreditation data uploaded. Now, the question is this. Labour Party successfully tendered in evidence about 18,000 polling units that were either blood or mutilated on the IREV. Now, remember that you need the result on the IREV for dispute resolution. And even the EU reports that I have on my desk here showed that there were chaos almost everywhere in Nigeria about the results. Now, if there was chaos and as much as 18,000 polling units cannot be read from the IREV before the result was declared, what will the judges do when there is a law that stipulates on how dispute will be resolved and the elements they need to resolve that dispute was non-existent? Now, if you say, okay, let's just say this 18,000 were only 200 people in each polling unit averagely. There are some polling units where you get 800 people. There are some polling units where you get up to 1,000. There are some polling units where you have 500. But let's just say there are only 200 people average for this 18,000. That will give you 3.6 million votes in question. And if you have 3.6 million votes in question, the law says that when a particular polling unit or result is in contention, if the amount of the votes in contention, if that number the difference is such that it can affect the outcome of the declaration of the result, that election has to be cancelled. Meaning, if I got, for instance, 20 and you got 15, and we are questioning 6, that election must be done again, because the 6, if you add it to yourself, it will give you 21. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And so the number of votes in contention here is greater than the margin of difference between the person that is declared winner and even that of the person they placed third, like Labour Party. Okay, fine. 200 is too much. Let's reduce it to 150. If we reduce it to 150, that will be
the average.
That will average to 150 per polling unit. That will be 2.7 million votes that is in question here, in contention here. Now, remember that Labour Party was allotted by INEC 6,101,533 votes, and APC, and even with that, Labour Party was given third place. APC was allotted 8,794,726 votes. If you take away 2.7 million from APC's votes, all right? If you add 2.7 million to Labour Party's votes, it will give you 8,801,533. Meaning that without even counting the PDP they gave second, if we are to say that this polling unit, 18,000 of them, it's 18,000 something, let's just say it's 18,000, that is only 150 people that is accredited for each polling unit and their result is in question. If you add that particular number, 7 million, the difference between it and the person they placed third is substantial enough. We haven't even talked about the PDP. So the question is, if the court were to uphold that if the IREV copies were mutilated, and remember that INEC, Deputy Director of ICT, who used his mouth to say in the interview we played yesterday that there must be a legible copy in the IRF and a physical copy. But when he got to court, he now changed his conviction and the truth he knows by saying that you can actually do collation without the result on the IRF, which is against the law. I mean, you can see it here. And then they gave him a result sheet to read. And he said he couldn't read. Why? Because it is blood. So he admitted the bloodness of a result that they uploaded on the IRF. And all those blood results have been certified by INEC, released to Labour Party, which they tendered in evidence in the court. So assuming this 18,000 polling units were to be cancelled, automatically the presidential election will be cancelled because the margin of difference is greater. Too much.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, you need to know also that in those polling units where they did the mutilation, that is where the extra votes they gave to APC were hidden. That's why they don't want to make it legible, because it will be in contention. It will be more like, this is 75. Why are you making it 15? That's why they mutilated it. And if the court were to cancel all those mutilated results and now use the result that were legible that the eyes can see, the moment if those ones were to be thrown into the bin, then Labour Party is going to come on top. It means that the second prayer of Labour Party, because they said it's either you declare us or you cancel the election, the second prayer will come. You will see Labour Party all of a sudden jump to the top. So the question is, how is a sensible judge going to allow himself to be hoodwinked by some kind of technicality? These things are obvious. The ECOWAS result says it. The EU report, says it. BBC research says it. Premium Time research says it. And all these things we're saying, it's saying it. They are seeing it there. There is only so much technicality can do in this instance, to be honest. Then, assuming that the election were to be cancelled and everybody's going back to the pool again, then we need to start asking ourselves, will everybody be qualified to go back to the pools? That is where we now go to the Constitution, 1999 Constitution, Section 137. And then we look at what is written in Section 137, subsection E, where the law says there that if you commit a crime like money laundering in any court, there are 10 items there. If any one of them, if you're caught by any one of them, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, if you fall foul of any one of them, you are disqualified. And one of them, the one in subsection in E, 137, subsection 1E, says that if you money laundering in any court, you are disqualified. J says you submit a certificate that is forged, you're disqualified. Maybe next time we will do a program on the judgments of both the appeal court and the Supreme Court on the subject of certificate forgery and how the courts have handled all of them. Why it will be very, very challenging. So what happened in Benue State, House of Rep? What happened in Bauchi State, House of Rep? What happened in Bayelsa governorship? So we can see how court has handled the issue of certificate forgery in the past, even up to 2020 and 2019. Now, J is talking, and one thing the Supreme Court said there is this: if you alter an existing document, that is forgery. For instance, my name is Ethelbert. If the school mistakenly wrote my name as TH, the last T, whereas it's only one T, and I say, oh, I don't have time to go and begin to correct it, and I use eraser or use something, Tipex, to clean the H and leaving only the T, that is forgery because I've corrected the document. Or if I didn't attend at all and I go to create this thing, because I saw APC lawyers trying to, I saw APC lawyers trying to generate a proof that their candidates actually attended the university. That's not an issue. We are not, nobody, I don't know, I don't think anybody's
contesting that.
To university or not. The contention is the document you submitted is not a copy of the document the university issued, period.
Sure.
Okay, if that be the case, then the presidential candidate of APC stands disqualified for the so-called going back for the election. He stands disqualified.
Okay, sorry, let me just throw a question. So if he's disqualified at this point, if we are to rerun or to have a rerun of the election,
Yes.
will it just be between Mr. Peter Obi and Mr. Atiku?
It's going to be.
Or will the APC be given the opportunity to still come up with a new candidate?
No. They can't come up with a new candidate because they have been found to be disqualified. They have lost their slots.
Okay.
That's one. And that's another thing. If this election is outrightly cancelled, it's now going to be a competition of 17 parties now, not even 2. Okay, you need to know because the election was cancelled, so it's going to be a rerun, not a second election, a rerun. Because every vote will be wasted. Every vote will be wasted because the 18,000 votes, you don't know if it is ANPP's vote. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
So
18,000 result sheets.
Yes, the polling units, the 18,000 polling units. You don't know who owns it. Somebody could tell you that, oh, ANPP can come and say, whoops, that's my vote. If you add it to me, I become the president or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, but if he escapes both the forfeiture and escape,
will he be able to escape?
I'm just
the
saying,
controversies are much.
If he escapes the forfeiture and escapes the certificate, and now there's another something around their neck, the double nomination, which we have tried to explain. You can find that in section 35 of the Electoral Act. I've explained that. They first of all submitted the name for vice presidential candidate 24 hours before they go to withdraw the senatorial listing. It says automatic disqualification. And if that affects the vice, it affects his principal. So it gets to that point. This could result in their disqualification. But the disqualification here, I'm saying it with respect to general cancellation of the result. But what if the whole result was, the election was not cancelled? The Labour Party could now stand to say, let us do the thorough recalculation. And if they recalculate it, hopefully, Peter Obi will become the president based on the majority of the lawful vote cast. And it is possible. If that 18,000 polling units were to be cancelled today only, assuming they cancel only that 18,000 units, the remaining result, because remember that the result had been allotted to APC from those polling units. And in those polling units, we are contesting it. Like in Lagos, all those polling units where we can't see it, Labour Party can't see anything. That's where the mysterious 400,000 votes vanished from Labour Party's count. And if it is cancelled, then anybody who has gotten a vote from those places will lose it. And if it happens, you see Labour Party jump up.
Okay, so I have a question concerning what you just said now.
Go ahead.
Yes, in the case of double nomination, for example, and Tinubu and his vice are actually disqualified, is it possible for Mr. Peter Obi to come up as president, as for the votes to be counted, or him and Atiku and other contestants have to go back to the polls
That's a
to
beautiful.
conduct
If they are
elections
if they are disqualified, their vote will
based
become
on double nomination.
based on double nomination or any of those other allegations like forgery or certificate. If they are disqualified on that again, then the argument will now be the level of compliance and what is a lawful vote. You and I know that if the lawful votes were to be counted between APC and between Labour Party and PDP, that's not an issue. They're flat. PDP will lose woefully.
Labour.
PDP
Labour
will lose,
Party will win.
Labour Party will win.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying now? Yes. And we're even saying, assuming he escapes everything, but the court also decides to rejig the whole system and check the lawful vote generally. All this issue of disqualification, he escapes any form of allegation that could lead to his disqualification. And every eye is now focused on the level of compliance by INEC and counting and resorting the lawful votes. Labour Party stands a chance of coming on top if the lawful. I mean, just take a look at what happened in one local government only, in Obi local government only.
Yeah.
73,000 votes. In Oyibo local government, they gave APC extra 13,000 and removed 15,000. In that place, as we talk, about 20,000 votes is the lead that Labour Party has over APC. Yet they gave APC the lead there. And these are based on what we can even see on IREV.
Yes.
Okay. The next thing is the prayer of the FCT. If the Supreme Court comes and say you must get 25% of the FCT, we have discussed that. We've discussed the section of the Constitution where you can find it. That's section 134 of the 1999 Constitution. If they say you must get 25%, two things will happen. Everybody, no, the APC will be ready to go back to ballots with Labour Party, not with PDP. Because it is not saying the next party with the highest amount of vote. No, it says the next political candidate with the greater win in more states. So Labour Party has more than 50% of vote cast in more states where they won than PDP. That is, there are some places PDP won, and they won by about 34%. But some places where Labour Party won, some of them, they are getting 70%, 80%. In fact, like in Anambra State, I think it's 90-something percent.
Yeah.
So that qualifies. Even Festus Okoye, I have that video. Festus Okoye said it with his mouth, as when he was saying, don't think that if you get the second highest vote, you just become the next. No. That's his second ballot. No. He says he's the candidate with the highest number of votes scored in more states. It was mentioned more states. So in that respect, it will be going back to the ballot. But now they will be going back to the ballot as if the result that INEC declared is 100% acceptable by the courts, and all the allegations of disqualification were trashed by the courts. And the only thing they upheld will now be the 25% of the FCT. If that happens, PDP will lose completely. And now only Labour Party and APC will go back to the ballot. Okay? And if they do that election again and they still didn't get that spread again, they go back to the third election. During that third election, nobody's counting the state, nobody's counting the spread. It becomes the majority winner. If you like, go to Kano only and win only Kano and just win 5 states in the north, or win. If that gives you the maximum number of votes, you become the president. So there are 3 elections that could our presidential election is set up in such a way that it could result in 3 elections. When they talk as if it is not this one, we haven't for. No. The law put it there. Okay?
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's any other question. You can remove the slide now. I think it is self-explanatory. I'll remove the slide now. I don't know if there's any other thing you would like to ask me now before we go.
Okay, so I have one more question before we go. And this question is, you've to a very large extent answered the question, because we have many persons out there that are not so much educated about politics, about the constitution, and most of them will just have this mindset that once Tinubu loses in court, that Peter Obi automatically becomes the president of Nigeria. Most
No.
persons have that mindset that once they declare that Tinubu has lost in court, that Peter Obi is our president. Is it possible? Like, how do
No. In fact, there are 5 is what benefits us, but there are actually about 7 possible outcomes from this judgment. The first possible outcome is that the presidential candidate of APC is disqualified, but based on some of those allegations of age, allegations of citizenship, allegations of forfeiture and double nomination. If he's disqualified based on any one of them,
Forgery too.
Yes, forgery too. But the result, as declared by the INEC, is approved. Then he will lose. Labour Party will lose. Atiku will become president.
Wow.
But then that will now go, provided that Atiku himself scored 25% spread in 24 of the 36 states and also met the condition of the FCT. If he didn't, then PDP and Labour Party will go to the polls again on the account of spread. That's number 1. Number 2, assuming the APC candidates were to be disqualified and vote recalculated, we are hopeful that, boom, Labour Party will move into Aso Rock. If all the votes are recalculated and there is no disqualification, we are still hopeful that Labour Party will move into Aso Rock. I have already mentioned that the difference between the person declared and the next person relative to any result in contention, if it is greater, as you can see here, in the 18,000 polling booths, it could result to an cancellation of the result of the election. That's the 4th possibility. Then there is also the FCT condition here, which I have explained.
Yes,
and there is also the most unlikely expectation of all the obedience. The court upholding whatever INEC did and say, INEC, we pat you on the back, you did a great job. Then what we have is what we have. We cannot rule out that as one of the options. That's why I say there are 7. Have I mentioned election annulled without? Okay, election could be annulled without Tinubu now being in the ballots, as I've mentioned earlier on. That could also result. That's the 7th one. So I said there are 7 here, but 5 is what benefited us more. So that's why I think our title is talking about the 5 rulings. But the rulings is 1 out of 7, but we are hoping that, we have more chances. Any 1 out of the 5 out of the 7 possibilities is in our favor.
Oh, okay. Thank you, sir. Well understood.
Anything else?
Yeah.
I think we need to really look at the judgments that we have, election-related judgments on forgery. It will be a nice thing to look at, so that our audience will see why we think that a big hammer is going to drop. Because the kind of statements and text the judges have used to describe and to rule on the matter of forgery before in election matters. It would be nice that we bring it up so that people will now hold it as a standard while we are waiting for them to also revisit this one.
So I wanted to ask, the respondents have been asked to go and write their report.
Mm-hmm.
Then the petitioners will equally write.
Yes.
Then adoption would take place. So when the adoption takes place, it will just be within the judges to go through these reports and
Yeah.
come up with their decision.
Yes. It's
Is
like
that how
now,
it's going to be?
it's like it's like now
Okay,
you
so it's just within them now
yeah.
to decide what will happen.
I think to a large extent, because you remember when they started the pre-election issues, we were not there. We were just hearing, oh, they have submitted this, they've submitted that, just like the way they submitted their petition, and then the respondent responded. We saw it on the media and all those kind of thing. I don't know. I may be limited in this, but I don't think it's going to be a public kind of thing again. All right, because it's just like it's like they have done their viva now, as it were, and they have been asked to go and do up their thesis, and they submit their thesis to the what do you call it, to their invigilators and what have you, external invigilators, and let them now mark. So when they finish writing all those things, it's like the first one is the first draft. But what I say is good that the respondent will first of all respond, and then we'll lay hold on it and then reply, and then the final adoption will be done.
And the judges, when they rule, they'll be giving their reasons for their decision, right?
Ordinarily, they should, yes, even though it takes time for us to get that copy of the judgment. But I hope you should just, because I've been checking their delegates this thing online. I've not seen the judgment. I like to read the one of Buhari versus Obasanjo, Buhari versus Yaradua, and Buhari versus Tinubu. No, Buhari versus Atiku. They're all online. I've read all those things. It could be a very voluminous thing where they break down everything. They could be very detailed, understand, so that no party will say the judges didn't do their thorough work. That's why it will take time, because the judges will now begin to read all those things with reference to all those reference numbers, that they allotted to the
The
evidence.
exhibits and
The
all that.
exhibit numbers, please. They're going to be reading it, and those who are even writing will write with respect to refer to exhibit number this. We have this to say. Refer to the testimony witness, a witness testimony this and that and that. It's going to be a proper academic work. I pity those men, to be honest. It's not easy.
So if they rule against Tinubu, he might want to repeal it, or that he might want to go to the Supreme Court.
If you are in his shoes, wouldn't you go to Supreme Court?
Okay.
Just know that
I just want to know if
whatever this appeal court is doing is preparatory for the Supreme Court.
yes.
Everything will land in Supreme Court. Because if they rule against Labour Party, wouldn't you say, where is Peter Obi? Come on, move on straight to the Supreme Court. And if you're a sitting president that they rule against you, you know what you're talking? He's jumping out to go and say, keep his mandate. So just forget, even the governorship, there's no governorship petition that tribunal that is not going to the Supreme Court. I don't even know why they did their own 3 steps: tribunal, the appeal court, and then the Supreme Court. They will exhaust all their options. The thing is, we are hoping that hopefully by November or early December, all these things will be over. But it's going to take that long. It's a long journey, the
From
marathon.
the look of things, yeah.
Because this stage only will take 6 months. They are allotted 6 months to handle this stage. And I think it is from the day the result was declared. They start counting. So that was March, April, June, July, August, September. So by September, ordinarily, so let's just say that the judgment will come by October. And then automatically everybody will jump back again for their appeal. And that one, I think it is only 60 days, 2 months, before the Supreme Court will give their own judgment. So that's why I'm projecting this, whosoever will be our president for the next 4 years, or yes, for the 4 years, because when Peter Obi is sworn in, if he's sworn in, it means that it will alter our presidential election. And that would be good. Presidential election will be only one election that will be held one day. And it's going to be funny because by then, members of National Assembly would have been seated before the presidential election.
Yeah.
Funny. Peter Obi
Yes,
started that
all of
trend.
that won't be taking place at the same time
Yes,
again.
he started that trend in Nigeria with Anambra State.
Just like
Off,
what is happening in Anambra State.
yes, off-cycle election.
Please, I wanted you to talk.
Anambra State hold their governorship election different from their House of Assembly. The same thing Ekiti, the same thing Edo State, same thing. No, sorry, Kogi State, the same thing in Bayelsa State, the same thing in Osun State.
Yeah, it will really be nice if we can just make that separation. All of them shouldn't be holding on the same day.
Too much logistic would be easy on INEC. Let's know that we're just moving one ballot box to one polling unit and one kind of ballot paper to one polling unit. Instead of doing 3 elections in one day, let them do one election.
The same day, yeah. And that's why most of the atrocities that happened that day as regards to the House of Rep election, many people did not take note of those because we were just paying attention on the presidential.
All eyes were on the
Yes.
I wanted to ask if you have anything to say with the latest development in Rivers State, because from the look of things, it appears like Wike is going to get a ministerial position. If I thought they've not given him, because there were some tweets I saw today. So, and the tribunal is already sitting. What is the chances of the Labour Party in Rivers State? We all know that something bad happened on the day of the election. So will she be able to make her case for her to regain her mandate? Because from the look of things, if Mr. Peter Obi had won, he won, we all know he won. They just declared that he didn't win. So let's assume that Mr. Peter Obi won Rivers, which we know he did. It means that no doubt the governorship candidate might have equally won. So, but now we know that Wike was able to, do all he did for the APC. What are your thoughts?
the Rivers State is a funny scenario. It's like Wike worked for APC for the presidency, but when he came to governorship, he for PDP. That's the much I know. I don't know what's happening at the local level of Rivers State politics, to be honest. But I know that it's contentious, not just for Labour Party, but also for APC, because I think that the candidate of APC is is somebody that the Rivers State people like. I think it was a 3-horse race in Rivers. Wike did a whole lot in Rivers State. So PDP had a strong footing. The APC too had strong footing there. And then the Labour Party. So I can't really comment on that. Where I know I have sizable information and argument is on Enugu State. That's another place where Labour Party is fighting strongly. And there is a case of forgery there. There's a case of massive rigging in one of the local governments in Enugu State. And I do really, really think that if the Labour Party put their leg on their foot on the pedal strongly, they might reclaim it. I'm also told that Lagos is boiling hot, really, really, in terms of the same tribunal. But of course, just like you mentioned, not the presidential, but a whole lot are still happening at the state levels. If you want us to look into that, it's going to be a juicy. As I sat here, I saw some text popping up that NYSC testified today against the governor of Enugu State. That is injurious, isn't it? NYSC came to testify that the certificate this person is parading, we did not do it. If that is the case, that is injurious. It means that Labour Party has a seat in waiting, because the issue of whether the votes were rigged or not rigged becomes a non-issue, because the whole vote of the incumbent governor will be wasted, and then the next person who will take over will be the Labour Party. But
Wow.
if for any reason some magic happens, despite NYS's testimony, the court still uphold that certificate NYS said that they did not issue, that is still authentic, then there is still a case about the election result itself, which is also another strong one. I personally have done an analysis on that particular local government in Enugu State, in Kano East, and it was a horrible thing. Horrible thing. I don't know any judge in his right senses that will. I've read the petition of the Labour Party's candidate in Enugu State too. It was a beautiful piece of reading. I have the petition in my files. So I think that the chances of Labour Party getting another governorship in Enugu is even higher than that of Lagos or Rivers State. And remember that Enugu State can boast as the only state today that is state, because they have the majority in the House of Assembly, 14 out of 24 members of the House of Assembly. They have, I think, 7 out of 8 House of Rep that are in Abuja. Only one PDP won, the rest, Labour Party. And then they have 2 out of the 3 senators. Enugu could comfortably say that this state is Labour Party state.
Wow. To be nice to see them reclaim the mandate. Please, what about Lagos? What is actually happening? We've not really been following that, but I think interesting things have been happening in Lagos. Please, in case you have any information, can you please share with us?
There are a lot of, I'm told that Revival is doing a lot, bringing things that we didn't even know, that the deputy governor is actually not supposed to hold even a public office in Nigeria, because he has sworn allegiance to United States, and the CTC was released by should announced it. He has not denounced it, and he has sworn allegiance. He's a Nigerian born, yes, but he went there and took up citizenship according to the claims of Labour Party, and he has not denounced it. If the court upholds it, he may be disqualified. Unfortunately, if he's disqualified, you know what that means. What it means is that the governor loses, and Labour Party goes into the Alausa house.
Wow.
On that account alone, yeah. Now, of course, the mess that happened in Lagos during the election, the beating, the brutalization and everything, and the catering away of ballot papers and co. If they're able to prove their case well, it could result in one of those possible outcomes. Election could be cancelled. Election could be, there could be a cancellation. Yes, one. There could be a counting of votes to show what is actually the lawful vote, because what we saw them parading there is not the lawful vote. So we don't know what's going to happen in Lagos.
Will all those intimidations that we saw during the election, will they in one way or the other affect the judgment for Lagos State?
That is a hearsay if it has not been in some way brought into the court as evidence. That's why, in the case of the presidential petition, Labour Party subpoenaed channels, because I think in Nigeria you have to, the people who took the video, the source must be the person. I can't just copy something now and say and fly it.
Okay.
So.
And you can't just take from the internet and present it to the court.
No. That was why the APC lawyers were asking the AIT person, so you got this from the internet, without knowing that the Chatham House speech was broadcast live and people were streaming live. You can just connect live as it is going, you could stream it from your channel, which means it is your source. You are the source. So even though the judges saw it, but you know, the judge, the symbol of justice is a blind person. It's only the facts they can feel. And there are ways you can make something a fact in the eyes of the law. If you have not made it a fact in the eyes of the law, then it's not a fact. You have to clean it up and make it evidence. If not, it is not something you can take evidence.
Dr. Tebert, we've reached our 1 hour mark. I think we'll be stopping here.
Can't even
Thank
believe.
you so much for all this breakdown. It's always a nice time listening to you. Thank you so much.
Gloria,
Thank you,
good to see you again.
Gloria. I know you must have equally learned one or two things. You know, every day we keep learning. He's really a good teacher, breaking down everything for us. Thank you so much. So,
I think that's much better for Nigerians to be educated than all this. You see, the kind of things I see on YouTube sometimes, even I'm not. Oh, they just dumped this. The other one, oh, let's people know there are certain things people could still bring on the internet, and I'll ask myself, of what use is it?
Yeah.
If it's not meaningful in the court, of what use is it? The hearing is over. We should now be discussing what are the implications of the things said in court, what part of the Constitution helped the case in the court, how are we thinking that this section of the Electoral Act or the Constitution will help this argument to be built in court, so that Nigerians will begin to sharpen their intellectual brain, not just
honestly,
color, picture, and all those things flying. It shouldn't be.
myself, I've learned a lot.
Not,
I've really learned, and I'm so happy
yeah.
that I've got to know some of the things I've learned since this campaign through to the election, and now that we are at the tribunal, I've really learned a lot. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank
We'll be
you.
meeting again tomorrow. Our viewers, we thank you all for joining. I know you all enjoyed this session. No doubt we'll be meeting again on the same platform tomorrow. Thank you. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Thank you very much and good night. Bye.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Good
Bye.
night.
Bye.